The Hunter Biden case has been rather interesting. So the first thing of note with Hunter Biden is that he was facing charges of evading taxes and lying about using illegal drugs while purchasing a firearm. So those are the two things that he was basically going to be charged with. He had actually bargained for a pretty sweet deal where he wouldn't have to face any jail time or also face any charges for the gun issue if he just admitted to evading the taxes. He took up the plea deal, but then something happened that I don't think any of us expected. Check this out.
So as I went back into the courtroom, the hearing had just begun again. The judge was back on the bench, and she was pressing the prosecution on this investigation and the four corners of this plea agreement. One of the prosecutors said that the investigation was very much ongoing, and that she asked him, well, what is not covered in this plea agreement if you were leaving the possibility for there being other future charges? So then the judge said, would this include a possible FARA charge that's not registering as a foreign agent? The prosecutor said no, the deal would not include that. It was at that point that she had said to the prosecution, if you can charge that, then what does this mean? And the prosecutors, actually, she asked Hunter Biden's attorneys about that, and he said, well, then there's no deal. And the prosecutor said, then there is no deal. So Biden's team said that the plea agreement, as far as they understood it, was now null and void. They were moving ahead to talk about what the next steps would be in this case. So as of right now, the deal appears to be dead and off the table, and it remains to be seen how they're going to move forward. But he has been charged with those two misdemeanor tax evasion charges. But one thing we learned is that this investigation is very much still ongoing.
This happened rather abruptly, and to take a look at the circumstances surrounding this as well, Chuck Todd actually added some very interesting context.
Meanwhile, it's worth pointing out that the Trump-appointed U.S. attorney in this case, David Weiss, is facing elevated scrutiny of his own due to the handling of this investigation after House Republicans heard public testimony from a pair of IRS whistleblowers alleging political interference in this investigation. That testimony came after the original plea deal was announced, which today dramatically fell apart. And it is worth noting that the House Ways and Means Committee, led by Jason Smith, the Republican of Missouri, did give additional information to the judge in Delaware before today's proceeding.
And by the way, in case you guys don't know, there was a hearing in Congress where a couple whistleblowers came and testified that while working for the IRS, while investigating Hunter Biden's failure to pay his taxes properly, and also his attempts to, not do so once he was able to, pay the bill that he owed, while they were working on that, while they were investigating Hunter Biden, they were being told, oh no, you can't go here with your investigation. You can't go there. You can't interview these people. You can't look for this sort of information. You can't give him these types of charges. And they're like, why not? Like, this is just something that we would do as part of normal protocol. And so after he testified that, then this plea deal absolutely crumbled and fell apart. So I find that rather interesting. I wouldn't be surprised if the judge was like, well, hold on now. It sounds to me like there's actually more here that he's guilty for. So we should not end this investigation at all. So I think that's rather striking. And to get a bit of gravity as far as like how bad this is, CNN is, quite literally freaking out over this right now.
How rare is it that as a prosecutor that you are walking in for this type of hearing and you are walking out perhaps with the deal falling apart?
It's very, very rare. Sometimes you do have a miscommunication about what the scope of, as we'll call it, the coverage is. How much is this person covered moving forwards? But that is, in some sense, the most important issue in a case. Look at this case. If Hunter Biden pleads to 1 or 2 or 3 tax misdemeanors, it's 2 in this case, that's fine. But the agreement here is no prison time. The bigger concern is he covered for anything else? Is he going to get a pass from DOJ for anything else? And you would absolutely have that hammered out from both sides. To have it fall apart in this fashion is really surprising and doesn't reflect well on either of the two parties.
Yeah, it's very, very bad, very, very awful. But yeah, this is going to be rather interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. I'll be paying closer attention to this situation as things continue to go on. I think this is not just a really interesting story, but this is a rather important story. So for those of you at home watching this video, I would highly recommend that you guys follow the story for yourselves, because this is massive.